The shuttle landed with a soft thud on the dusty ground of Kepler 442c. Lee Daeho stepped out and looked around. The mining station stood before him like a dead giant. Its metal walls were covered in red dust. The tall towers that once hummed with alien technology now stood silent against the orange sky. Daeho picked up his tool bag and walked toward the main entrance. His boots made soft sounds in the thick dust. The air was thin but breathable. His suit kept him warm in the cold atmosphere. Station Commander Park So-young to Technician Lee, came a voice through his radio. "Do you copy?" "I copy, Commander," Daeho replied. "Just arrived at the station. Beginning inspection now." "Good. The Valyrian workers left 3 months ago after the equipment failure. We need to know what can be salvaged before the insurance company arrives." Daeho nodded even though she could not see him. The Valyrians were proud aliens who looked like walking crystals. They were excellent miners because they could make metal bend with their minds. But when their equipment broke down, they left quickly. Too quickly, some people said. The station's main door was unlocked. Daeho pushed it open and stepped inside. Emergency lights flickered weakly in the dark halls. His flashlight cut through the shadows. Everything looked abandoned in a hurry. Food containers sat half empty on tables. Work tools lay scattered on the floor. Daeho made his way through the station, checking each room. The living quarters were empty. The control room had dead screens and silent computers. The medical bay had been cleaned out completely. It was as if the Valyrians had taken only what they needed and left everything else. He reached the elevator that led to the mining levels deep underground. The power was still working. The elevator hummed as it carried him down into the darkness. Level after level passed by. The station had been built to mine rare metals from deep in the planet's crust. At the lowest level, Daeho stepped out into a vast cavern. Mining equipment stood frozen in time. Huge drilling machines pointed at walls of stone. Conveyor belts stretched into the darkness, but everything was covered in a fine, pale dust that sparkled in his flashlight beam. Daeho walked through the mining area, taking notes on his tablet. Most of the equipment looked undamaged. The Valyrians had been in such a hurry to leave that they had not even tried to fix the problems. This was strange. Valyrians took pride in their work. They did not usually give up so easily. He was examining a large drilling machine when he heard something. It was very quiet, almost like breathing. Daeho turned off his tablet and listened carefully. There it was again. A soft sound coming from deeper in the mine. Daeho followed the sound. His footsteps echoed in the empty space. The pale dust got thicker as he walked. It crunched under his boots like fresh snow. The sound grew a little louder. It was definitely breathing. At the very back of the mining area, behind a pile of broken equipment, Daeho found the source of the sound. He stopped and stared. His flashlight beam fell on something he had never expected to see. It was a small figure lying in the dust. At first, Daeho thought it might be a human child. But as he got closer, he could see it was something else. The figure was pale, almost transparent. Its skin had a slight glow like moonlight through clouds. It was small and thin, no bigger than a 6-year-old human child. The creature was clearly alive. Its chest moved up and down with slow, steady breaths, but it did not move otherwise. It lay on its side in the dust, staring straight ahead with large, dark eyes. The eyes were beautiful but empty, as if the creature was looking at nothing. "Hello," Daeho said softly. He knelt down beside the figure. "Can you hear me?" The creature did not respond. It did not even blink, but Daeho could see intelligence in those dark eyes. This was not an animal. This was a person of some kind. Daeho had seen pictures of young Valyrians before. They looked like small versions of the adults with crystal growth starting to form on their bodies. But this creature had no crystals at all. Its skin was smooth and pale. It looked fragile, like it might break if touched too roughly. "Are you hurt?" Daeho asked. He reached out slowly and gently touched the creature's shoulder. The skin was warm and soft. The creature did not pull away, but it did not respond either. Daeho stood up and activated his radio. "Commander Park, this is Lee. I have found something unexpected." "What kind of something?" came the reply. "I think it's a Valyrian child, a very young one. It's alive but unresponsive. It's been left behind." There was silence on the radio for a moment. Then Commander Park's voice came back, sharp with surprise. "A Valyrian child? Are you sure?" "I'm sure it's alive, and I'm sure it's not human. It looks like it might be Valyrian, but different. Younger than any I've seen in pictures." This is very unusual. Valerians never leave their young behind. Never. Are you certain it's not some kind of pet or domestic animal? Deho looked down at the small figure. Those eyes held too much intelligence to be an animal. I'm certain this is a person, Commander. A very young person who needs help. All right. I'm contacting the Valerian embassy. They should be able to tell us what to do. Don't move the child until we know more. Understood, Deho said. But as he looked down at the motionless figure in the dust, he felt something stir in his chest. This small creature had been left alone in the dark and cold. Whatever the Valerian said, he was not going to just leave it here. Deho sat down in the dust beside the small figure. I don't know why you're here, he said quietly. But you're not alone anymore. I'll wait with you. The creature's dark eyes moved slightly. For just a moment, they seemed to focus on Deho's face. Then they returned to staring at nothing. But Deho had seen that moment of awareness. Someone was definitely home in there. He settled in to wait for orders from above, but in his heart, he had already made his decision. This pale, abandoned creature was not going to be left in the dust any longer. Deho had been sitting beside the pale creature for 2 hours when his radio crackled to life. Lee, this is Commander Park. I've spoken with the Valerian embassy. They're sending a rescue ship, but it won't arrive for 3 days. They want you to leave the child where it is and continue your work. Deho looked down at the small figure lying motionless in the dust. Leave it here for 3 more days? Commander, this creature needs care. It needs food and water. The Valerians were very clear. Do not touch or move the child. They said it would be dangerous to interfere with their customs. What if it dies before they get here? There was a long pause. The embassy representative said that would not be your responsibility. Deho felt anger rise in his chest. Not my responsibility? There's a living being here who needs help. Lee, I understand your feelings, but we have to respect alien customs, even when we don't understand them. Complete your inspection and return to the station levels. Deho stared at the creature. Its breathing was steady but slow. It had not moved at all since he found it. I need to set up some basic life support down here. The temperature is dropping and the air is getting thin. Absolutely not. Return to the upper levels immediately. Commander, I'm experiencing some radio interference down here. Transmission breaking up. Deho reached over and turned off his radio. He was not going to leave this creature alone in the cold and dark. He spent the next hour setting up a small shelter using pieces of mining equipment. He created walls to block the cold wind that blew through the tunnels. He set up a heater powered by his portable generator. He even found some plastic sheeting to make a roof. The pale creature lay still through all of this. Its dark eyes followed Deho's movement sometimes, but it made no sound and did not try to sit up or move. Deho began to wonder if it was paralyzed or sick. When the shelter was finished, Deho carefully lifted the small figure and carried it inside. The creature weighed almost nothing, like holding a bird. Its skin was warm, but it felt fragile, as if it might break. Deho placed it gently on a soft mat he had made from his spare clothes. There, he said softly. That's better, isn't it? The creature's eyes moved to look at him. For a moment, Deho thought it might speak, but it only continued to stare with those large, dark eyes. Deho tried offering the creature water from his supply bottle. It did not drink. He tried some of his emergency food rations. The creature showed no interest. This worried him greatly. How long could it survive without food or water? The next morning, a medical shuttle arrived at the station. Dr. Kim Hyejin had come to examine the creature on Commander Park's orders. She was a specialist in alien biology and had worked with many different species. Dr. Kim was a small woman with kind eyes and gentle hands. She carried a large case of medical equipment down to the mining level. When she saw the shelter Deho had built, she smiled. This was good thinking, she said. The creature looks much better than I expected. It hasn't eaten or drunk anything, Deho said. I'm worried it might be dying. Dr. Kim knelt beside the pale figure and opened her medical scanner. She ran the device over the creature's body, taking readings. Her expression grew more and more surprised as she worked. This is very interesting, she said finally. What did you find? First, this is definitely a Valerian child. Probably only a few weeks old. But there's something very unusual about it. Dr. Kim sat back on her heels. Deho, this child has no crystalline structures in its body at all. Is that bad? For a Valerian, yes, very bad. All Valerians are born with crystal formations that grow as they age. These crystals give them their special abilities. They can move metal with their minds, shape stone with their thoughts, and communicate through crystal networks. Deho looked down at the creature. But this one has no crystals? None at all. In Valerian society, this would make the child powerless. Worse than powerless, actually. They would see it as defective. That's why they left it behind. Dr. Kim nodded sadly. I'm afraid so. Valerians believe that children without crystals are cursed. They bring bad luck to the family and the community. Traditionally, such children are left to die. Deho felt sick to his stomach. They abandoned it because it's different? It's their way. They believe only the strong should survive. A Valerian without crystal powers cannot contribute to society. They see no point in keeping such a child alive. That's horrible. Many alien customs seem horrible to humans, Dr. Kim said gently, just as some of our customs seem horrible to them. Deho knelt down beside the small creature. Can you help it? Can you make it healthy? There's nothing wrong with its health. The scans show a perfectly normal Valerian child, just without the crystal formations. It's not eating because it's depressed. Valerian children are very sensitive to emotions. This one knows it was abandoned. So what do? Dr. Kim packed up her equipment. Officially, we wait for the Valerian ship and turn the child over to them. They'll probably put it out of its misery quickly. And unofficially, Dr. Kim looked at the shelter Deho had built, then at the careful way he was sitting near the creature. Unofficially, I think this child has found someone who cares about it. That might make all the difference. After Dr. Kim left, Deho sat alone with the pale creature. He decided to give it a name. Looking at its pale cloud-like skin, he chose Hanul, which meant sky in Korean. Hello, Hanul, he said softly. I know you can understand me. I know you're scared and sad. But I want you to know something. I don't care if you don't have crystals. I don't care if your people think you're defective. You're not defective to me. Hanul's dark eyes focused on Deho's face. For the first time since he had found the creature, it blinked. That's right, Deho said, smiling. You're listening, aren't you? You understand what I'm saying? Slowly, very slowly, Hanul turned its head toward Deho. It was the first voluntary movement the creature had made. Deho felt his heart lift. There you are, he whispered. I knew someone was in there. On the second day, communications specialist Choi Min-woo managed to establish contact with the approaching Valerian rescue fleet. The tall, serious man had worked hard to tune the station's communication array. When the connection finally came through, the voice that answered was cold and mechanical. This is Fleet Commander Viadal of the Valerian rescue vessel Crystal Wing. We are 1 day from your position. Deho stood in the communication room with Min-woo and Commander Park. His heart pounded as he listened to the alien voice. Commander Viadal, Park said into the microphone. We have found one of your people in the mining station. A young child that was left behind. There was a long silence. When Viadal spoke again, his voice was even colder. Describe this child. It appears to be a Valerian newborn, maybe a few weeks old. It was found in the deepest mining level. Another silence. What is the condition of this offspring? Deho stepped forward. The child is alive and responsive, but it seems to have been abandoned without food or care. Human. Viadal's voice crackled through the speakers. You will not refer to the defective organism as a child. It is waste material, nothing more. The words hit Deho like a punch to the stomach. Waste material? This is a living being we're talking about. The organism you found lacks the crystal formations necessary for proper function. It is genetic refuse. We departed the facility because its presence brought contamination to our work. Commander Park looked shocked. Are you saying you abandoned a baby because it was different? We abandoned nothing of value. The defective offspring is not our concern. Dispose of it as you see fit. The communication ended with a harsh click. The room fell silent. Min-woo stared at his equipment as if he could not believe what he had heard. Commander Park sat down heavily in her chair. They called it waste material, Deho said quietly. A baby. They called a baby waste material. Different species have different values, Park said, but her voice was shaky. We have to respect that. No, Deho said firmly. I don't have to respect that. And I won't. He left the communication room and took the elevator down to the mining level. Hanul was lying in the shelter, awake and alert. When Deho entered, the pale creature turned its head to look at him. Hello, little one, Deho said softly. He sat down beside Hanul. I just heard from your people. They're not very nice, are they? Hunnel's dark eyes seemed to understand. The creature made a small sound. The first sound Daho had heard from it. It was like a soft whisper, that's right. You can make sounds. You're not broken at all, are you? Daho reached into his pack and pulled out a small electronic tablet. He turned it on and showed Hanul the glowing screen. The creature's eyes grew wide with interest. This is human technology, Daho explained. We don't use crystals like your people do. We use electricity and circuits and tiny parts that work together. He touched the screen and brought up pictures of Earth. Hanul watched with fascination as images of blue oceans and green forests appeared. When Daho showed pictures of human children playing, Hanul made that soft whisper sound again. Those are human children, Daho said. They're different from you, but they're children just like you are. They learn and grow and play, and they're all valuable no matter what they can or cannot do. Over the next few hours, Daho talked to Hanul about many things. He told stories about his childhood on Earth. He explained how human technology worked. He described the different kinds of people who lived in human society. Some humans are very strong, he said. Some are very smart. Some are artists or musicians. Some are good at fixing things like me. But we don't throw away the ones who are different. We help them find their own special talents. Hanul listened to everything. The creature began to sit up on its own. It reached out with one pale hand to touch Daho's tablet. When its fingers brushed the screen, the image changed. Hanul jerked its hand back in surprise. It's okay, Daho laughed. You didn't break anything. The screen responds to touch. Here, try again. This time, Hanul deliberately touched the screen. When the image changed again, the creature made a sound that might have been laughter. It was a light musical sound that made Daho smile. You like that, don't you? You understand how it works. Hanul spent the rest of the day exploring the tablet. It learned quickly how to change images and make the device respond. Daho was amazed at how fast the creature learned. Within hours, Hanul was navigating through the device like an expert. You're very smart, Daho said. Much smarter than your people think. As the day ended, Daho received another message from Commander Park. The Valerian fleet would arrive in the morning. They expected the humans to have disposed of the defective organism by then. That night, Daho made a decision. He could not let the Valerians take Hanul. He could not let them kill this intelligent, curious creature just because it was different. He began to plan. The mining station had emergency pods that could carry people to safety. If he could get Hanul to one of those pods, they might be able to escape before the Valerians arrived. But as he made his plans, something unexpected happened. Hanul, who had been playing with the tablet, suddenly looked up at him. The creature's mouth moved, and for the first time it spoke. Daho, it said in a small, clear voice. Daho nearly dropped his tools. You said my name. You can talk. Daho, Hanul repeated. Then slowly and carefully it said, Thank you. Daho felt tears come to his eyes. This creature that its own people called waste material had just spoken its first words, and those words were gratitude. You're welcome, little one, he whispered. You're very welcome. Outside, the Valerian fleet was approaching. Tomorrow would bring danger and difficult choices. But tonight, in the warm shelter deep underground, a human and an abandoned alien child sat together, sharing the light of human technology and the warmth of unlikely friendship. The next morning brought Dr. Yoon Jae-sung to the mining station. He was a famous scientist who studied alien life forms. Commander Park had called him when she learned about Hanul's rapid progress. Dr. Yoon was a kind man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Daho led him down to the mining level where Hanul was waiting. The pale creature was now sitting up and holding the tablet confidently. When it saw the strangers, it moved closer to Daho. Hello, little one, Dr. Yoon said gently. I'm here to help. Hanul looked at Daho, who nodded encouragingly. It's okay. Dr. Yoon is a friend. Friend, Hanul repeated carefully. It was learning new words every hour. Dr. Yoon set up his scanning equipment and began to examine Hanul. The scans took over an hour. During this time, Hanul answered simple questions and demonstrated how it could use the tablet. Dr. Yoon grew more excited with each test. This is incredible, he said finally. Commander Park, you need to see these results. They gathered around Dr. Yoon's portable computer. The screen showed images of Hanul's brain activity. Look at these neural patterns, Dr. Yoon pointed to bright areas on the scan. This child's brain is working at levels far beyond normal Valerian parameters. The areas responsible for learning and problem-solving are extremely active. What does that mean? Taeho asked. It means Hanul is not defective at all. The lack of crystal formations has allowed its brain to develop in completely different ways. Instead of relying on crystal-based abilities, it has developed incredible analytical intelligence. Commander Park studied the scans. So it's actually superior to normal Valerians in some ways? In many ways, yes. Watch this. Dr. Yoon brought out a broken communication device. This has been giving us problems for weeks. None of our engineers can fix it. He placed the device in front of Hanul. The pale creature looked at it curiously, then picked it up with careful hands. It turned the device over, examining every part. Then, it began to take it apart. Taeho watched in amazement as Hanul's small fingers found screws and connections that were barely visible. The creature worked with incredible precision, as if it could see exactly how the device was supposed to function. Within 30 minutes, Hanul had completely disassembled the communication device. It laid out all the parts in neat rows, then began to put them back together. But as it worked, it made small changes. It rerouted some wires and repositioned some components. When Hanul was finished, it handed the device back to Dr. Yoon. The doctor turned it on, and it worked perfectly. Better than perfectly, actually. The signal was clearer and stronger than it had ever been. How did you know to do that? Dr. Yoon asked Hanul. I see how it wants to work, Hanul said in its small voice. The electricity wants to flow this way, but the design makes it fight itself. I help it flow better. Dr. Yoon turned to the others with wonder in his eyes. This child understands technology at an intuitive level. It can see the function and purpose of mechanical and electrical systems just by looking at them. Is that normal for Valerians? Commander Park asked. Not at all. Valerians use crystal-based technology that works completely differently. They would never think to approach a problem this way. Hanul has developed abilities that are entirely unique. Over the next few hours, they brought Hanul more broken devices. Each time, the pale creature studied the problem and found a solution. It fixed an atmospheric processor that had been malfunctioning for months. It improved the efficiency of the station's power grid. It even figured out how to boost the range of their communication array. This is a new form of intelligence, Dr. Yoon said. Hanul represents an evolutionary leap. Instead of being limited by traditional Valerian crystal abilities, it has developed something completely different and potentially more powerful. The Valerian fleet arrives in 3 hours, Commander Park said quietly. What do we do? Taeho knelt down beside Hanul. What do you want to do, little one? Your people are coming for you. Hanul looked scared. They think I am broken. They want to make me stop existing. That's right, but we don't have to let them take you. Can I stay with you? The simple question hit Taeho harder than any blow. This incredible, intelligent creature wanted to stay with him. It trusted him to protect it. I want you to stay, Taeho said, but it might be dangerous. Your people are very powerful. I am not afraid if you are with me. Dr. Yoon cleared his throat. There might be a way. The Galactic Council has laws about protecting refugees. If Hanul officially requests asylum from human authorities, it becomes an interspecies legal matter. Would that work? Commander Park asked. It would require a formal hearing. But given Hanul's unique abilities and the clear threat to its life, I think the Council would support asylum. Commander Park nodded slowly. All right. I'll contact Earth Command and request emergency asylum proceedings. Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the station. A voice came over the communication system. Valerian fleet has arrived early. 3 ships approaching the station. All personnel prepare for contact. Through the station's windows, they could see the Valerian ships descending from the sky. They were beautiful vessels that looked like they were made from living crystal, but to Taeho they looked threatening and cold. They're here, he said. Hanul moved closer to him. I want to stay with you, Taeho. You are my family now. The word family made Taeho's heart swell with emotion. This abandoned creature had chosen him, just as he had chosen to protect it. Then that's what we'll do, he said firmly. We're family now, Hanul, and families stick together. Outside, the Valerian ships landed with barely a sound. Soon, alien figures began to emerge from the vessels. They moved with mechanical precision toward the mining station. Commander Park activated the station's communication system. Attention, Valerian fleet. This station is under human authority. We request you follow proper diplomatic procedures for boarding. The response came immediately in Fleet Commander Viadal's cold voice. We are here to collect contaminated waste material. This requires no diplomacy. The child you referred to has requested asylum under Galactic Council protection laws. There was a long silence. When Viadal spoke again, his voice was filled with anger. Impossible. The defective organism is incapable of legal requests. It will be retrieved immediately. Heavy footsteps echoed through the station as the Valerians entered. They were coming for Hanul. Deho stood up and helped Hanul to its feet. Are you ready for this? Hanul nodded, clutching the tablet to its chest. I am ready. We are family. The elevator doors opened with a soft sound. Fleet Commander Viadal stepped out into the mining level, followed by 2 other Valerians. They were tall figures covered in crystal formations that caught the light like living jewels. Viadal himself was impressive and frightening. Half of his body was covered in sharp blue crystals that pulsed with inner light. Viadal looked around the mining area with disgust. His glowing eyes found the small shelter that Deho had built, and his expression grew even colder. Where is the contaminated organism? He demanded. Deho stepped forward, placing himself between Viadal and the shelter. If you mean Hanul, it's right here. And it's under human protection. Hanul? Viadal's voice was filled with anger. You gave the waste material a name? You have made this situation much worse, human. The situation was already bad when you abandoned a child to die alone. Dr. Yoon moved to stand beside Deho. Commander Viadal, we have examined this child extensively. It shows remarkable intelligence and unique abilities. Surely such a being has value. It has no crystals, Viadal said flatly. Without crystals, it cannot contribute to Valerian society. It cannot communicate with the crystal network. It cannot shape stone or move metal. It is useless. It can do other things, Deho said. It can understand technology in ways that amaze even our best scientists. Technology. Viadal spat the word like it tasted bad. Crude metal and electricity. The tools of inferior species. No proper Valerian would lower itself to such things. Hanul stepped out from behind Deho. The small creature looked even paler next to the towering crystal beings. But it stood straight and looked directly at Viadal. I am not useless, Hanul said in its clear, small voice. Viadal recoiled as if he had been struck. It speaks. The contamination has spread further than we thought. I can think. I can learn. I can help, Hanul continued. I am not waste material. Silence. Viadal raised his hand and the crystals on his body began to glow brighter. You will not poison this place further with your voice. Deho stepped in front of Hanul again. If you want to hurt this child, you'll have to go through me first. And me, said Dr. Yoon, moving to Deho's other side. And us, said Commander Park, as she arrived with several human crew members. They formed a protective circle around Hanul. Viadal looked at the humans with confusion. Why do you protect the defective organism? It cannot benefit you. It has no crystals to offer, no useful abilities. It doesn't need to offer us anything, Deho said. It's valuable just because it exists, just because it's alive and intelligent and capable of growing and learning. This is the human sickness, Viadal said with disgust. You waste resources on the weak and defective. This is why your species will never achieve true greatness. If greatness means abandoning children, then we don't want it, Commander Park said firmly. Viadal gestured to his companions. Retrieve the organism. Use force if necessary. The 2 Valerian soldiers stepped forward. Their crystal formations began to glow, and the metal objects around them started to vibrate and move. This was Valerian power, the ability to control matter with their minds. But the humans did not move aside. They stood their ground, protecting Hanul with their own bodies. You will move, Viadal commanded, or we will move you. We will not move, Deho said simply. The standoff continued for several tense minutes. Then something unexpected happened. Hanul walked forward, moving past the protective circle of humans. It approached Viadal without fear. I challenge you, Hanul said in its small voice. Viadal laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You challenge me? A powerless waste creature challenges a fleet commander? I challenge your judgment. You say I am useless. I say you are wrong. Hanul walked over to a pile of broken mining equipment. It was a massive drilling machine that had been damaged in the accident that caused the Valerians to abandon the station. Even with their crystal powers, the Valerians had not been able to repair it. Hanul studied the machine for a moment, then began to work. Its small hands moved quickly and precisely, adjusting components and rerouting systems. The humans and Valerians watched in silence as the pale creature worked. Within an hour, Hanul had completely rebuilt the drilling machine. But it was not the same machine that had broken down. Hanul had improved it, made it more efficient and more powerful. When it was finished, the machine hummed with smooth, perfect operation. "This machine can now drill 3 times faster than before," Hanul announced. "It uses half as much power and produces better results. Your crystal abilities could not do this." Viadal stared at the repaired machine. His crystal formations flickered with uncertain light. "This is not possible," he said. "The organism has no powers." "I have different powers," Hanul said. "Powers you do not understand." Dr. Yoon stepped forward. "Commander Viadal, this child represents a new form of evolution. Instead of being limited by traditional crystal abilities, it has developed something entirely different. Something that might be more valuable than what your people currently possess." "Impossible," Viadal repeated, but his voice was less certain. "Your people abandoned a potential genius," Deho said. "You threw away someone who could have revolutionized your technology and expanded your capabilities, all because it was different from what you expected." Viadal looked at his soldiers, then at Hanul, then at the repaired machine. For the first time since arriving, he seemed uncertain. "Even if this is true," he said finally, "the organism is still Valerian. It belongs with its own kind." "No," Hanul said firmly. "My own kind abandoned me to die. These humans saved me. They fed me and protected me and taught me that being different is not the same as being broken." Hanul walked back to Daiho and took his hand. "This is my family now. This is where I belong." Viadal's crystal formations flared with anger. But before he could respond, new voices echoed through the mining station. More ships had arrived from space. Commander Park checked her communication device. "It's a Galactic Council enforcement vessel. They've come to oversee the asylum hearing." Viadal realized that his simple retrieval mission had become a complex legal matter. He could not simply take Hanul by force anymore. "This is not over," he said coldly. "The Council will see that the organism belongs with its own species." "We'll see about that," Deho said, squeezing Hanul's hand gently. The small, pale creature looked up at him with trust and affection. "We are family," it said quietly, "and families protect each other." The Galactic Council hearing took place 3 days later aboard the enforcement vessel, Unity. The ship's main conference room was filled with beings from many different species. Judge Kithara, a wise creature with silver scales and ancient eyes, presided over the proceedings. Viadal sat at one table with his legal advocates. They argued that Hanul was Valerian property that had been illegally detained by humans. Their voices were cold and mechanical as they presented their case. At the other table sat Deho, Hanul, and human legal representative Jung Eun-mi. She was a brilliant lawyer who specialized in interspecies law. Her arguments were passionate and logical as she defended Hanul's right to choose its own future. "The question before us is simple," Jung Eun-mi said as she addressed the council. "Does a sentient being have the right to seek protection when its own species tries to kill it for being different?" "The organism is defective," Viadal countered. "It serves no purpose in Valerian society. Allowing it to live with humans would be like allowing a broken tool to contaminate a precision workshop." Judge Kithara looked at Hanul, who sat quietly beside Deho. "Child, do you understand what is happening here?" "Yes," Hanul said in its clear voice. "Some people think I should die because I am different. Other people think I should live because I am myself. And what do you want?" "I want to stay with my family." Hanul looked at Deho with obvious affection. "I want to learn and grow and help people. I want to prove that being different can be good." Judge Kithara nodded thoughtfully. "The council will hear evidence of the child's capabilities." Dr. Yoon presented his research findings. He showed brain scans that proved Hanul's superior intelligence. He demonstrated videos of the pale creature repairing complex devices that had baffled experienced engineers. "This being represents a new form of evolution," Dr. Yoon explained. "Instead of being limited by traditional Valerian crystal abilities, it has developed intuitive understanding of technology and mechanical systems. In human society, such abilities would be highly valued. In proper Valerian society, such abilities are corruption," Viadal argued. "They represent abandonment of our sacred crystal heritage." Judge Cathera asked Hanul to demonstrate its abilities. The pale creature was given a broken translation device that the council had been unable to repair for months. Within 2 hours, Hanul had not only fixed it, but improved it to work with 3 additional languages. Remarkable, Judge Cathera said. I have never seen anything like this. The hearing continued for 2 more days. Witnesses testified about Hanul's rapid learning and gentle nature. Commander Park described how the child had been abandoned to die alone. Human psychologists explained how Hanul had bonded with Deho and formed healthy emotional attachments. Viadal became increasingly frustrated as the evidence mounted against him. Finally, he stood up and made his final argument. This organism is an abomination, he declared. It has no place in the natural order. Allowing it to live will only encourage other defective offspring. Our species will be weakened by such contamination. Young Unmi rose to respond. Commander Viadal has just proven our point perfectly. He sees this brilliant, caring child as contamination simply because it is different. This is exactly the kind of thinking that Hanul needs protection from. When the arguments were finished, Judge Cathera called for a recess. The council members deliberated for several hours. During this time, Deho sat with Hanul in the ship's observation lounge looking out at the stars. Are you scared? Deho asked. A little, Hanul admitted. But not too much. You taught me that being brave means doing what is right even when you are afraid. You've been very brave through all of this. Hanul smiled, an expression it had learned from watching humans. I learned from the best teacher. Finally, Judge Cathera called everyone back to the conference room. The ancient being looked around at all the faces watching expectantly. The council has reached a decision, she announced. After reviewing all evidence and testimony, we find that the being known as Hanul has clearly demonstrated sentience, intelligence, and the capacity for emotional attachment. Furthermore, we find that this being faces genuine threat of death if returned to Valerian custody. Viadal leaned forward in his chair, his crystal formations glowing with tension. Therefore, Judge Cathera continued, the council grants full asylum to Hanul under the protection of human authorities. The being will be granted citizenship status and all rights accorded to sentient refugees. The room erupted in mixed reactions. The humans cheered and hugged each other. The Valerians sat in cold silence. Viadal stood up, his entire body blazing with angry crystal light. This decision is a mistake. You will regret protecting this abomination. Perhaps, Judge Cathera said calmly, but we would regret more allowing fear of difference to guide our justice. Viadal and his delegation left the ship without another word. Their vessels departed immediately, disappearing into the darkness between stars. 6 months later, Deho and Hanul were working together in a new research facility on Earth. The pale being had grown taller and stronger under human care. Its skin still glowed softly, but now it seemed healthy and vibrant rather than fragile. Hanul had become something amazing. It could repair any machine, improve any system, and solve technical problems that baffled experienced engineers. But more importantly, it had learned to laugh and play and love. Deho, Hanul said as they worked on their latest project, why did you stay with me when everyone else wanted to leave me in the dust? Deho smiled as he handed Hanul a tool. Because everyone deserves a chance to prove they matter. And you, my dear friend, matter very much. Their current project was a new type of communication device that could translate between any known languages instantly. It combined human technology with Hanul's intuitive understanding of how different minds worked. When completed, it would revolutionize contact between species. Will this help other people like me? Hanul asked. Other people who are different and need protection? I hope so, Deho said. I hope it will help everyone understand that being different is not something to fear. It's something to celebrate. Hanul nodded and returned to work, its pale hands moving with confident precision. Outside the lab windows, Earth's blue sky stretched endlessly upward, full of infinite possibilities. The abandoned child who had once lain motionless in alien dust had found not just a home, but a purpose. And in a universe often divided by fear and prejudice, that was perhaps the most powerful thing of all. We are family, Hanul said softly as they worked. Yes, Deho agreed. We are family. And in the warm light of the laboratory, surrounded by the tools of human ingenuity and alien wisdom, their work continued. Together they were building bridges between worlds, one invention at a time.